Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm down at the Thames Sales Yard here in Thamesville, and what they have is a beef operation, and I'm here. He's just making feed here this morning, and what they have, I'll get Jeff to explain it all, but they have commodity sheds. That's their silage pile back there. They're feeding wet distillers, I know, and it looks like they're feeding straw. Jeff will explain all that when I get a chance to talk to him. He loads his truck with the JCB. I would say that's some kind of hominy or corn gluten. It's some byproduct of some kind he's putting in. This truck has scales on it, so they'll be feeding by a recipe. They keep track of, monitor very, very closely what everybody's eating, how much they eat. What they have, this looks like ground corn. We'll get over here. He's got a few of these cattle fed already this morning. They started using corn stalks for bedding, I think for a few reasons. Straw got hard to get last year, and some people are maybe glad to see their stalks disappear. It makes it a lot easier to no-till soybeans if the corn stalks are gone, and the cattle just love corn stalks. They also love the camera. A lot of these stalks they eat quite a bit. They're all inquisitive. All these cattle all have a number in their ear. It doesn't hurt them to put that tag in their ear because it's just skin they're putting the tag through, and it makes identification better. So if you have a sick animal, or also it helps you to well, just keep records on who's who and everything. And you do get to know the cattle. Like 63 is pretty quiet here. So what they do here, they feed in bunks. And Jeff will talk about their feed program a little later. So he just goes down the line. Everything's all done, but all weighed out. It's a total mixed ration. Breakfast time, girls. So he's got a few bales of corn stalks here for bedding. A few hundred. What they use this end for here, when they scrape the pens, and I think they do it every other week, put the manure in here and then it goes. It's all undercover. Oh, how's that go this morning? Everybody seems happy. Happy cows. cows just love those corn stalks. So let's talk about all the different. I got Jeff here today. Jeff, Jared, and Nicole. Everybody's here. The three musketeers.
Are you making fun of us now?
No. Let's talk about how you make your the feeding program.
So we follow a diet with a feed nutritionist. There's about 8 to 10 ingredients depending on the availability of a lot of our byproducts and stuff. So yeah, we get the amount of protein and energy that we need to get the best gains, and we mix them all up in the TMR there and weigh it to the cattle every day, so we know exactly how much everybody's eating and what they're eating.
So how often do they come and balance your ration?
It depends. Probably 2 to 3 weeks. Every 2 to 3 weeks we change things a little bit, but it's never a drastic change. It's always just something small here and there. The biggest thing is to keep the diet balanced.
And availability gets to be the thing. Like,
for sure,
certain things that you're feeding are only available at certain times of the year.
Yep. And this COVID thing played a big factor in what was available. Like the distillers here, the ethanol plants dropped to 30 or 40%. So that made that a little tighter, and then that, I guess, affects the cost of it too. So you always got to take everything into account.
I say you've built on your cob meal. You can use more cob meal?
Yeah, we're gonna put a few more 100 acres up next year, and hopefully I guess drop the cost of our feed. It's always nice to have more room too. So when something does come available and cheaper, you can take on
drop
more.
it in. Yeah,
you can pile it and store it.
That's one thing. The cattle, they can use a lot of products that, you know, the hog industry can't use, the chicken guys can't use, the dairy guys can't even use it.
Yeah.
You know, but the beef industry, they can use a lot of different.
Yeah, they say the more mixes, more different types of feed you have in your mix, the better the cattle will like it.
Well, they're no different than you and I. If you were eating just all potatoes,
yeah,
pretty soon.
Gotta mix a steak and a hamburger in there.
Yeah, every once in a while, yeah. And maybe throw an onion or a tomato on that hamburger.
Yeah, with a little bit of ketchup.
And I guess the guys in Chatham would say throw a pickle on it too.
Yeah. You got that right.
So, what about marketing the cattle? Let's go over here and.
So we keep them anywhere from 6 to 8 months, depending on what size they came in at. Usually they're coming in between 700 and 1,000 pounds. We typically like to take them to 1,500 or 1,600. Every animal's different though. They don't all go out the exact same weight. The bigger frame cattle you can push to 1,600, but some of these smaller black heifers and that, you'd be lucky to get them to 1,450 most of the time.
Yeah, this one's getting quite a brisket on her.
Yeah. See, these cattle will probably be ready to be processed by the end of July to the mid part of August, I would think. But Dad takes care of marketing all the cattle, so we'll just wait and see what this market does.
What about sourcing cattle? Where do you source your cattle?
Well, 90% of our cattle come from Brussels Livestock, the auction market up in Huron County. So from there, they are bought off of a lot of Mennonite farms who background the cattle. So originally, a lot of these cattle came from Eastern Ontario and parts of Quebec, and believe it or not, a lot of Western cattle, so from Alberta and Saskatchewan. So this is technically the third home for a lot of these cattle. The last home.
This heifer was up to see us earlier.
Yeah. She's the smart one of the bunch.
The smartest one right here.
Yeah. She quiets the whole pen down.
It's amazing how quiet the cattle are. And the other thing I did notice, like when they're feeding, or when they're in there bedding,
yeah,
nobody's talking.
No.
Nobody's screaming. Nobody's hauling.
You don't need to honk the horn or nothing. But we walk through them every day, no matter what. It doesn't matter if it's Sunday or whatever, even just to walk through them, make sure everybody's feeling all right, make sure no one's had a calf or got her head caught. And that makes a huge difference. You can always tell just going to different farms who walks through the cattle and who doesn't, because it just changes the whole, I guess, aspect of the pen.
Well, if they're quiet, they're going to do better.
Yep. So we try to keep them as clean as possible as well. We bed them, I would say, twice a week, depending on the weather. If it's if we're getting a lot of wet weather, like a real wet stretch, we'll have to bed them 3 times a week and scrape the pen more often. But right now we've had some nice dry weather, so.
So what do you do? Clean them every couple of weeks?
Yep. Every 2 weeks, every 2 to 3 weeks, we'll scrape it right down to the cement and put fresh bedding down, and then for that next 2 or 3 weeks, we'll just, I guess, freshen it up with a few bales here and there.
I find too, if you scrape it every 2 weeks, you use less bedding. Believe it or not, you use less bedding.
Yep.
Because that bottom gets wet and it just...
Yep. The pack doesn't seem to maybe hold up whatever's on top, right? So they kind of punch it through and then it's gone. So if you get yourself a good dry base, the bedding will last longer.
Oh, I guess, and maybe I should talk to Nicole about it, and that's foot rot.
Yep.
Foot rot's a big problem in feedlots.
This industry, for sure. I would call it our biggest problem. I'm not speaking for other feedlot operators, but it's something that we deal with on a daily basis. I think it's kind of like gout. You know, you're feeding them a hot diet. You're trying to get the most out of the cattle and the most out of the feed, and most of them it doesn't affect, but you get the odd one that just gets a little bit lame. So we treat them with sulfa and we put them through a foot bath, which sometimes helps. As long as there's an open wound, the foot bath will help. But yeah, it is the biggest problem we deal with as far as like operating.
Well, for my little operation, that's the biggest thing I ever run into.
Yeah. And it's a pain, right? Because you got to go in and you got to sort the sore ones off and put them through the squeeze. Like, the less you have to bother the cattle, the better off we are. So, like for today as an example, I'll walk through them here in another hour and that'll be it. Then they're left to be until tomorrow morning again when they're fed.
So you just feed once a day?
Just once a day.
So you pretty much put enough in to hold them?
Yep. Yeah, the bunker can hold, like this pen, for example, would have like 60 or, no, I'm gonna say 70 or 80 cattle in it, and they'll eat 4,000 pounds. So there's plenty enough room for that feed all to put down all at once.
Well, that's good. Well, I think it's probably in Kent County, you're one of the bigger producers of beef, I think.
I suppose, yep. There's a handful of guys feeding cattle. Seems to be getting less and less every day. You got to go further north and further east, I guess, to find a lot of the feedlots. But yeah, it was something that I guess my grandfather bought the Thames Sales Yard back in, I think it was the 60s. And as there was less and less cattle in the countryside all the time, Dad decided to start feeding. So I guess here we are.
Well, one thing, it's good for the land too, like manure, you know, and growing a little bit of hay and
yep.
everything. Well, thanks for taking the time, Jeff, to show us around, and I want to thank everybody that's watched our video today. And if you think you want to see more, give us a comment on the bottom or send us an email to soybeanman@jacksonseedservice.com, and give us a like if you don't mind. It does help with how our videos come up on YouTube, and we just kind of enjoy doing this, eh, Jeff?
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
And if this is good, I'll come back and get Jeff and Nicole again, because I know Nicole really liked being in the video. Anyway, we'll catch you on the next video.